Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the other episodes of Cracking the Entrepreneur Code podcast show. And by the way, tonight is not going to be a podcast, but a video cast. I'm the host, Jack Wong, and I have got a very awesome guest from United States of America, and her name is Meredith Maslich. I hope I pronounced your name properly. And
You did.
thank you very much. And you know what? Who is Meredith? Meredith is actually not just a book lover, and she called herself the chief book nerd at Possibilities Publishing Company. And what happened is that she has been growing this publishing house and acquire some more publishing imprints and make it even better and bigger. I'm not going to give you the names because I'm going to ask Meredith to share with us to do a very nice introduction rather than me describing what it is. But what I want you to understand is that life is not always like that. So in this theme, in tonight's interview, what I'm going to do is to discuss and ask Meredith to share with us something called the benefits of failing. It is like, hang on for a minute. Benefits of failing? What are the benefits I talk about when you fail? Well, you know what? We are talking to the entrepreneurs. And failure is always part and parcel of our journey. So instead of accepting the fact that failure is no good, why not we look at what failing means to us and what can we learn from that? So without further ado, I would like to welcome Meredith on board and welcome to our show. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. So can you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, leading to you decide to become the chief book nerd of Possibilities Publishing?
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. So I didn't start out in publishing. My first entrepreneurial endeavor was a company right after I got out of graduate school where I was a consultant for nonprofits and did board development, raising, consulting, which was in my field. That was what my master's was in. That's the kind of work I'd always been doing. And coming out of grad school, I knew everything. You know, I had all the answers. I wasn't going to go work for some other company because they would just hold me back. So of course, dove right into starting my own company, and it was great. It worked really well for a lot of years. But that was where I really started to learn about the benefits of failure, making mistakes. First company made a lot of mistakes, little mistakes, big mistakes. But so I ran that company for about 7 years, and then it's kind of grueling work to work with nonprofits. A lot of heart, and everyone's very deserving, and so I was a little bit burnt out, and then I sort of let my heart lead instead of my head, and made some decisions with some clients that ended up being not financially beneficial. And so the two kind of things came together, and I just decided I was done, and I shut the company down and basically took a desk job. I couldn't cope anymore. I was like, I just want to sit someplace and have someone else tell me what to do for the day, because I can't entrepreneur anymore. Like, I can't do it. So I did that for about a year. I just sort of regrouped and licked my wounds and tried to kind of figure out what the next step was going to be. And I ended up sort of stumbling into publishing. My dad had been a sales trainer successfully for about 35 years, and was looking at semi-retiring and wanted to write a book, as a lot of executives do, at certain points in their careers. So he just asked me to help him work on it. And so I helped him write it. And then I started looking into how to republish it. And I sort of discovered this whole world of independent publishing and self-publishing. And my entrepreneur heart just like burst. I was just like singing, because I was like, because I've always been a writer. I've always been into reading. I've always loved books. I was that kid, when I was little, where I would rather sit inside and read a book than go outside and play with my brothers, that kind of thing. And all of a sudden I just saw this opportunity to take things that I'd always loved, books, writing, words, and go into this field that had so much opportunity for creativity, so much opportunity for independence, for growth, for innovation, but had some structure, had some tradition. I wasn't just sort of going into the Wild West and making it up 100% as I went along. So I could kind of do what was traditional, follow what I wanted to do, while at the same time make it up and decide new things wherever I wanted to. So it was really just that simple. All of a sudden, I was sort of like doing this project with my dad, and then I had a company. I don't know.
Right. And you see that because this is a video cast, I can see your passion. I can see the face. You truly enjoy this publishing career. And that to me is really very important for entrepreneurs to fully understand. Well, typically a question that many of my clients ask, I now decide to get off the rat race. I am going to be the entrepreneur and my life is going to be very different. But before I start, can you tell me what should I do? It's like they do not know what they want and yet they just make the move of being an so-called an entrepreneur. So for you, you're very clear, okay, because of one incident, one experience, one opportunity, and it's something that aligns with your interest, and you make it as an opportunity and grow it in that way. So do you see that it's actually something that is beneficial for people to understand? You can start something that you enjoy before you decide to make it something very big.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think for a lot of people, sort of backing up and talking about like entrepreneur, a lot of people, especially young people, and I was one of them when I was in grad school, where I had this idea that like, it's such a great life, and you can set your own schedule, and you can sleep all day, and you can like network at night, whatever, all this kind of stuff that's not about the work. That's about like a lifestyle. And that's not nothing. I mean, that's something to consider. There are people who can't handle that kind of, lack of structure. But that's not enough, so you have to really be willing to work on something. It helps so much if it's a passion, for sure. Yeah. Something that you're really interested in and feel very strongly about. But that's not enough in and of itself. You have to also be ready to take on all that risk, all that uncertainty. The weight of the world is on your shoulders, and you have to sort of be willing to apply your own structure to find out, what your work system is. And you may not have a boss who's asking you where you are at 9:05 and you're not at your desk, but you kind of have to be that boss for yourself to some extent. And maybe you start work at 2 a.m. and maybe you start work at 2 p.m. It doesn't matter, but you have to have that structure, and you have to be willing to understand. It's not all fun and games. It's not all working in your pajamas all day and then calling yourself an entrepreneur.
Yep, that's right. And you know that I love reading books. I have the ability to write, but it doesn't mean that I want to create a publishing house like you. So it is a very different ball game. It's like I love to coach people of how to become an author. And I love to coach people to clarify what are the chapters they can come up with. I'm very good at that because I've done many times of this sort of things. But if you ask me, Meredith, am I ready to build a company called a publishing house? Nope. That's not me. I'm not ready for that, or haven't even dreamt about doing that. So it takes a lot of guts. Your dream must be very big, and you have a very strong guts or strong feeling that enables you to do what you have done right now. So the question I have is that you do. I know there are a couple of publishing companies, big ones around. Like is the very similar in that means kind of like the very similar thing for for all industries. Like, how do you distinguish your possibilities publish? Okay, how do you make your publishing company unique compared to your competitors or other industry players? What is the unique proposition of your company?
Well, one of the unique things, there's a couple different ways. So one is distinguishing yourselves from what are known as the traditional publishers, the big five, the ones that dominate New York. So we definitely distinguish ourselves from them in the sense that we are not them and we're not trying to be them. So we don't follow the same practices that they do. We're very, very embracing of indie culture and spirit. We take a lot from the self-publishing world in terms of innovation and independence, and requiring and relying on the authors to be very, very engaged in the process, not only of producing their books, but of marketing their books. Because really, not a lot of people want to hear from the publisher. Not a lot of readers care what I think. They care about the author. They want to talk. They want to follow the author on Instagram. They want to connect to them on Twitter. And I can, put out whatever. I can try to manage social media under the author's handles, but it doesn't work. They know. They know it's not the actual author the connecting. So, so we originally started calling it a partnership publishing model, in that we were looking at it as, in traditional publishing, a lot of the times, book from the author, they do final edits, they design the cover, they plan the marketing rollout, and then they sort of tell the author, show up here for this reading, show up here for this reading, do this live Twitter, conversation, whatever. And we don't do that. We don't do it that way. So it's much more collaborative and engaging with the author.
They're very interesting. It's a very interesting and different model compared to traditional publishing. Because I just share with you my background. I have published 3 books, and my 3 books, I've gone through 3 types of publishing. The traditional one, so I'm very familiar with that. It sucks. I know that it sucks. I don't enjoy that. Second one is the self-publishing, which is basically like I get my book printed by myself, and that's called self-publishing. It's like I have to do all the work. It's also not very good. So I like to partner with somebody, and therefore the person is actually from a strong background, can tell me, can guide me what I need to do as an author. And I will do my part to finish the manuscript and give it to you. So you can do the editing if you want to tell me what I need to do further. So that is kind of like partnership thing, which is why to me, having a partnership, having collaboration is a lot better than doing it by myself. So that is actually my background. So I can relate to what you say.
So you know exactly what I'm saying. Yeah,
I know.
So that's great. And we've actually evolved the model a little bit to become more of a co-op model, which has been again, what I love. I can sort of make these evolutions and make these changes because I found the partnership model was just a little too vague for the authors. It became hard for the authors to know exactly how to connect and what role to play to, promote their book and support the company. Because it's been amazing. I didn't expect this, but I've managed to connect with authors who are not only passionate about their books, but they're really connected to me and to the company. And they want to see the company as a whole succeed. They want to see their fellow authors succeed, which has just been amazing and incredibly rewarding. So I decided to capitalize on that. So we sort of evolved into what I'm calling a co-op model, which now is where I have each author has a prescribed role in either supporting each other or supporting the company.
So I'm hearing from you that like you actually use this vehicle, like the company, while it is a publishing company. But what I'm hearing you is basically you are creating a movement of a tribe, of a groups of authors which can support each other. You are essentially building a community. Although it is a publishing company, you are creating a community with like-minded authors which can collaborate, can work on something together. So to me, that is a great leader's character. So it's like when I read your profile, your bio, it's like, okay, it's a publishing company. But until I hear all this, I'll just see that as a publishing company. But thank you, and therefore, thank you for sharing. Like, entrepreneurs have to understand that if we serve other people, that is good, because typically entrepreneurs are there to serve the prospect and their customers, their clients, providing solution. But what you have done I would say that what you have done even further is to create a tribe, create a movement. And to me, it's like not a lot of entrepreneurs are willing to do that. So you are exceptional, amazing, really.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I want to come back to your own story. What is the hardest thing for you to become an entrepreneur? Like when your dad needs to publish a book and you say, yes, let me do it. And now I become an entrepreneur. Like, what is the hardest thing, in your opinion, that you have gone through?
It's lonely. Really, that's the easiest way I could think. So the starting out is always the easiest part for me, at least. I'm full of ideas and everything seems possible, which is where the name of my company came from, because I just always see the possibilities everywhere. And so that's never the hard part. And it's, in fact, sometimes too easy. I just will barrel into new idea. But so for me, the hard part comes later, after that initial buzz wears off, after the sort of things I think I know, turns out I don't know, the things I'm so sure are going to work so great, don't work so great. That point where it's sort of like, okay, I'm alone. This is all on my shoulders. It's definitely part of, the entrepreneurial sort of journey is this is all on me. I may have people supporting me, I to work for me. Ultimately, it's about me getting this done. So those are the moments. And then, wondering, do I know what I'm doing? Will this plan work?
Right.
Will I go broke and have to go back to eating ramen all the time? Like, I don't know, but it's always 2:00 in the morning when that sets in and sort of think, what was I thinking? What was I thinking?
Right.
So figuring out how to pull back from that and move forward. That for me is the hardest part over and over.
So then the next question obviously is how do you overcome all these unsupported beliefs, mindsets, thinking or thoughts? How do you overcome all these?
It's hard. It's becomes a habit. So the first part is sort of trying to understand where they're coming from. Is it legit? Am I perhaps on a wrong path? Sometimes when you get really a lot of questions, it's because I'm fooling myself into thinking something is going to work, and really I know it's not, and I need to just step back or let go or reframe. So it's a process of looking inside and being really honest with myself and saying, okay, is this a rational fear because I'm tired or because I'm scared, or is it legit? Is my brain telling me something? And then being able to make adjustments if needed. But when all else fails and when it's just like the straight primal fear, I reconnect back to what my goal is, what my vision is, and not just for my company, but for my life. I look sort of into the next phase of my life, which is, I don't know, it's always just like thinking about the future. I have the income and the company is what it needs to be. I picture that and I say, is what I'm doing going to get me to that place? And if the answer I still believe is yes, then it's just a matter of sucking it up, getting back to work. And you just have to push through sometimes. There are bad days and there's hard days, and you just have to sort of just keep going. Then something good happens.
Yeah, what I want to say is that listeners should recall that in I think 2 episodes ago, when I was interviewing another guest, Vernon Brown, and he gave me the same idea. It's like we will experience setback, we will not be happy, but what is important is that successful entrepreneurs ask quality questions. Is that what you said? Is that legit? What is that going through my mind? And am I able to get back up the game? Whatever. It's like, to me, the questions that we ask will guide us along to what kind of action that we are taking. So it's very important to make sure that we know what questions we ask ourselves, or else our mind will just set us to the path of failure. Because that is what the mind is essentially doing. It's meant to protect us all the time. Would you agree with that? So it's very important for us to build up a mechanism to be able to know, check the present situation, ask ourselves, assessing the situation, what are we supposed to do? Do I have another alternative? Find resources. Have you said, are there any possibility? Well, are there any other possibilities of doing this? Hit our goal. It's like, that's why your company is called Possibilities Publishing. It's like everything is all about possibilities. But if our mind is not creative, if we are not resourceful, we don't have these possibilities in front of us, even though they are meant to be. So it's very, very important. So if I were to give you a situation like Jack is here, like just pretend that I'm an employee and Meredith is the first lady I met after I left the job, and now Meredith is a very successful entrepreneur. I want to tap on your brain and ask you this question. I have no idea actually what I want, but I have just left my job and I heard the cool things of being an entrepreneur. What would be the first 3 things that I should do right now so that I can do something to my business or in my business? What are the first 3 things that I have to do?
Oh gosh. The first thing is make sure you've got some cash in the bank. I mean, just to be very concrete. Yes. Again, which is that balance to the pie in the sky, just creativity, follow your dreams. So having some cash in the bank is very helpful to let you have some freedom to explore dreams and take chances. It's much easier to take chances. So that's always my first thing.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So my second thought is go slower than you think you're going to need to go. There is this urge, like I was saying, to just barrel ahead, just dive in and run with the idea and quick design the logo and quick set up everything. But then you a lot of times find yourself sitting with a lot of assets and collateral and no actual plan for business. So it's very easy to confuse having a flashy logo and a nice website with having a company, and they're actually not the same. So slow down, take a step, have a longer rollout plan, and actually try to create a business plan, like an actual on paper business plan. It doesn't have to be super formal, like, you can download templates and go to business school and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be like that. It could be your version of it, whatever it is. But have a plan, have something that you've thought through. That act of sitting down and typing or writing or whatever your style is really profound. It really makes your brain work in a different way.
Thank you for this wisdom. The reason why I'm asking this question is that if listeners recall my own story, I left the corporate world after 17 years, and I just left the corporate world without any plan. And fortunately, I do have cash at that time, so I didn't die. And I survived for a couple of months. And you know what? The next thing is that I wanted to do a lot of things, but your second piece comes nicely, one step at a time. You can't have everything suddenly, one step at a time, because you just need time to do something. It's like for me, when I do my podcasting activity, I haven't considered this as a business yet. It's not a business yet. But the truth is that I learned podcasting as a student, learning the skill set of being a podcast guest, which is my second step. And now I'm transcending to this stage of my podcasting activity as a podcast host, interviewing other guests. And the next one that I'm looking forward to is being a podcasting producer and a teacher. So to me, it's like I took a very long time to move from one stage to the other stage. It's going to take time. So to me, your second piece comes nicely. And in order to support your second piece of your wisdom, the first piece, which is your cash, is important. You still have to pay your bill. You still have to pay for your food. You can't say I don't eat, I don't drink. So yeah, I agree. So to me, I've seen a lot of interesting stories. I call it interesting because they are very interesting. They're just interesting. The entrepreneurs just jump out of the job and move to the entrepreneurship world, but they have no clue of what they want in life. And every single day they are just dreaming. And they don't know what to do. They have no business plan, which is your third wisdom. No business plan. They cannot move without a plan. So very important. And yes, anything to add on?
Part of that I speak from experience. When I started my first company, I had no money in the bank. I had no plan.
Okay.
I had those days where I was sort of like, do I have lunch or do I take the subway down to the client? Like, which is it? So I don't just throw that advice out loosely. It's key.
That's the reason why I believe that your theme, the benefits of failing, is please do not repeat my step. This is very important.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you that I've done that and it's not very fun. So do not repeat my step and do something more beneficial to you. And you and I happen to be in this show with the same thing, same message. Don't repeat my step. Don't just leave your job with no plan. I'm fortunate to have cash, but imagine I don't have cash. I will not be having a show right now with you. So listener, please understand. Yeah. Do not repeat our mistakes. We have done that. It's not cool.
It's not
right?
good.
It's not cool at all.
It's not nearly as romantic as people think.
Yeah, that's right. So I just conclude the episode with 2 questions. The very first question is, this is a ritual of my show, whereby I always ask the guest to give me the number 1 favorite quote that we would like to share with our audiences. And Meredith gave me this one. And this is from Maya Angelou. And the quote is, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Nice quote. So why would this be your favorite quote, and how does it apply to you in your life and in your business? Why this quote?
Well, I think I come across a lot, especially in this business. There's this impulse to sort of want something to be a certain way, and when it's not, you just get upset and just sit and just be like, but it should be. And I hate that phrase, it should be. unless it's followed by, and so let's make it. And I fall back on that quote a lot, and a lot of writings by Maya Angelou, because she kind of talked on that theme a lot, where it's like, it's up to you. Like, do something. Don't just sit and wallow. Don't just sit and complain. Don't blame other people about whatever it is. Figure out a way to fix it. And if you can't fix it, fix you. Change how you're approaching it. So, but don't just sit and be upset and or feel helpless.
Right.
Get out there and do it.
It's another way of saying that I need to be responsible for my life, because nobody else except me will be responsible. Don't be a victim. Don't blame other people. Deal with it by yourself. That's the essence of this quote. Thank you for sharing. So the last question I have is also a routine question. Like, where do we find out more about you, about your publishing company? And is there any website or is there any social media that we can follow?
Absolutely. Thank you. So the website is possibilitiespublishingcompany.com. Long website, but but it's pretty easy to follow. And you can find us on social media, on Twitter as PossPubCo. So POSSPUBCO, PossPubCo. Instagram, we're Possibilities Publishing, and Facebook, we're Possibilities Publishing Company. So we're just getting into the Instagram game, but maybe by the time this airs, we'll be like totally dominating Instagram.
Right.
But that's our latest push forward to sort of understand, be a part of that world. So.
Well, for me, a selfish reason of getting to know you is that I now know another publishing company, and you know what? I have lots of friends who want to be authors and just don't have any clues of how to become an author. So our connection comes nicely. I hope that our authors will be able to connect with you. There's what I think of a possibility of connection. And having said that, thank you for coming to my show and share with us your story, your journey, and what you're doing as a publishing house. But most importantly, just remember this: you have created a movement, a tribe, a community. That is the essence of what I learned in this interview. So thank you for taking that move to build a community on this. I appreciate that. And that concludes another episode of Cracking the Entrepreneur Code podcast show. And this is a video cast, by the way. I have to stress that again and again. And next time, I'm going to bring on another successful entrepreneur who will share with you the wisdom, the intelligence, and experience to help you take your business to the next level. Until we next meet, this is Jack Wong. I'm signing off now. Have a good day. Bye-bye.